You know, Sam Altman, one of the key figures in the tech world, has seen thousands of founders come and go. And he basically boiled down everything he learned into 13 key points on how to achieve that outlier next level kind of success. So if you've ever wondered what really separates the good from the legendary, well, this framework is your playbook. Let's dive right.
Right off the bat, Altman kicks things off with this critical distinction. Over on the left, you've got the linear path. It's what most of us are taught to follow, right? You trade your time for a steady, predictable outcome. But on the right, that's the exponential path. That's the rocket ship. It's where real wealth and massive impact are created. It's way less obvious, but it's the foundation for this entire way of thinking.
So, how do you actually get on that exponential curve? How do you make that happen? Well, it all starts with one core foundational concept.
The big idea is to compound yourself. I mean, think about it like compound interest, but for your entire career. The goal is that every single year, your efforts should be producing bigger and bigger results. And you do this by building leverage, through capital, technology, your personal brand, or by leading a team. That way, every bit of work you put in generates more and more impact over time.
Now, this requires some serious discipline. Compounding means you have to say no to those smaller, quicker wins so you can stay laser focused on the things that could be massive game changers. You literally have to trade short-term linear gains for those huge long-term exponential leaps. You've got to trust the process, be patient, and let the magic of compounding do its thing.
But look, before you can build anything out there in the world, you have to build your internal foundation first. This section is all about the non-negotiable mindsets that you absolutely have to get right from the start. Let's be clear, this is not about being arrogant. It's about having the deep conviction you need to chase ideas that everyone else thinks are completely crazy. And why is that so important? Because the biggest value is always created when you're right about the future and the rest of the world is wrong. Without that core self-belief, the first bit of criticism is just going to knock you right over.
And this story just nails the point home. When Altman saw Elon Musk talking about sending rockets to Mars, it wasn't some far-off dream. To Musk, it was a certainty. You could just feel it. That level of conviction, that's the benchmark. That's what it takes to rally a team and actually defy the odds. Our whole education system often rewards just following the rules, so original thinking is a muscle you have to build on your own. It means breaking things down to first principles, coming up with your own ideas, and then, this is key, finding fast, cheap ways to see if they work. You have to get really comfortable with failing, knowing that one huge success can completely wipe out all the previous losses. This really all comes down to your why. I mean, are you chasing external validation, the likes, the awards, the praise, or are you driven from the inside by a deep need to create something? Because that external validation, it's a total sugar high. It's fleeting. The only motivation that will truly last through the tough times is the desire to impress yourself. All right, so once you've got that internal mindset locked in, you can start focusing on the external game. We're talking about the strategic levers, the big moves that multiply your efforts and create those totally disproportionate results. This is such a classic trap. So many of us think that just working more hours is the key. But Altman argues it's not about just being busy on a hamster wheel. It's about applying focused leverage. The secret is to figure out the one or two priorities that truly matter and then just attack them with this relentless, unstoppable focus. It sounds kind of backward, but it's actually easier to work on a really hard, ambitious problem than an easy one. Why? Because big, bold ideas are like magnets for talent. Look, if you start another meme company, you're going to be fighting for talent in a super crowded space. But if you're trying to cure diseases with gene editing, the best people in the world will literally seek you out. Here's a tough truth. If anyone can do what you do, someone eventually will, and probably for less money. You have to build a moat around yourself. And this isn't just for a business, it's for your career. You can do this by building a unique personal brand, cultivating deep relationships, or becoming the absolute best at the intersection of two or more different fields. So you've got the mindset, you've got the strategy, but none of that means a thing without execution. This next part is all about building the engine that turns those big ideas into a tangible reality. Okay, let's be real about hard work. You can have a great career by being smart or by working hard. But if you want to be in that top 1%, the absolute best of the best, it takes both. You'll be competing against brilliant people who are also willing to work relentlessly. It definitely comes with trade-offs, but at the highest level, it's just non-negotiable. Let's just reframe the word sales for a second. It's not about being manipulative or slick. It's about being an evangelist. And the formula is actually pretty simple. First, get your thinking crystal clear. Then, use simple language. But the most important step, genuinely, truly believe in what you're saying. People can feel authentic conviction from a mile away, and that is the ultimate sales tool.
Wow, this is such a powerful idea. Most people just accept the world as it is, but the most successful people, they believe they can actually bend it to their will. They push, they ask, they just keep going. I mean, think about the early days of Airbnb, fighting through every single obstacle you can imagine. That relentless will to succeed is the perfect example of this in action.
Our brains are basically wired to overestimate risk and underestimate reward. The way to fight that is to build a life that makes taking risks easy. By keeping your expenses low and your options open, especially when you're early in your career, you give yourself the freedom to make what they call asymmetric bets. That's just a bet where the downside is pretty small, but the potential upside is absolutely life-changing.
So, we've covered the mindset, the strategy, and the execution. And all of these pieces are building towards one critical financial outcome. This slide right here, this might be the biggest economic misunderstanding most of us have growing up. We think people get rich from a high salary. But the reality is, you do not make the Forbes list by selling your time. You get there by owning things, by having equity. That is the fundamental shift you have to make, from linear income to exponential wealth. Let's just say it one more time so it really sinks in. To generate true, life-changing wealth, you have to own things that can increase rapidly in value. It could be equity in a business, real estate, intellectual property, whatever it is. Ownership is the only vehicle that lets you ride that exponential curve we talked about at the very beginning.
And that really brings us to the final and most important question of all. Now that you have the framework, compounding yourself, having that insane self-belief, focusing, and aiming for ownership, it all comes down to action. So, what's that contrarian idea that you believe in so deeply that you're willing to bet on it? What exponential path are you going to choose?